Hello, wonderful Pixel peeps and Alice fans. Thank you so much for joining us today for this exciting first live stream for X-RL7 of the year. Very excited to see so many awesome people in the chat so far. Today, we have a very, very special guest, one of my favorite musical people, a wonderful, wonderful, talented musician, songwriter, vocalist, and overall just wonderful person and voice actress as well. We have the wonderful Tash Cox from Alice and Mankind is Obsolete. How are you doing, Tash?
I'm doing great. Thank you. How are you? How are our friends in the chat?
Well, that's a wonderful segue there because we've got some wonderful people. We've got Chad Beats. How are you doing?
Yay.
The wonderful Raz, Jimmy Enterprises. A few of these people did some awesome artwork. Your character that I believe you've spied already in the Discord, Tash.
Yes.
Alice, of course.
That's not me, by the way. That'd be funny if it was.
Projecting in two places at once. Orange Echidna, how are you doing? Peach Russo, Jessica Davis, Jay, what's up? Oh, we got a lovely house today. A lovely
Yes,
full
yes,
house of people.
yes. Love it.
Thank you so much for joining us. Well, Tash, right off the bat, how has the release of our wonderful collaboration single Antipop Star been for you thus far?
I mean, truly amazing on so many levels. Like, first of all, just seeing your incredible work, bring it all to life and seeing it actually, because we've talked about this for a while, and like seeing like the brilliant animation and the story that you put together. It was just so amazing to get to see it all come together like that. And also, I've just been so grateful for the warm welcome from the XRL7 community. I joined the Discord, I think last week. Time is so fluid, but and just everybody made me feel so welcome. So I love the communities here, and it's just been really amazing. So yeah.
Oh, I just want to mirror that with the Alice community. It seems like you guys attract really wonderful, like-minded people that are quite kind.
Yeah, we are very, very grateful for our Mad Hatters, and they are wonderful. They're our incredible community that we're so grateful for. So yes, absolutely,
Yay to communities.
yes.
Well, yeah, this is, as you said, this has been a collaboration which has been a long time coming. You have kindly lent your voice to Miss Cleo, the character in XR7 already in so 12, a few years back. And it's, man, I've been wanting to do something for a while, musical with yourself in XR7, and it's taken a while to get to that point in the story, the character arcs at that perfect point where we can explore Cleo's musical half a bit more. And I think you did absolutely wonderful. I've said many times we were on the stream on the Alice page. If you guys haven't seen it, check out the replay. And I just want to echo again that I think what you did with the vocals really embodied exactly the message of the song and the passion of the character. So thank you for doing it such justice.
Oh, I appreciate your kind words and your vision because it is something that you mentioned to me that you wanted to create and you had it in mind, and I think it's definitely a testament to your vision as an artist that I think I love the brewing process, right? So, like, the fact that you were brewing it, and then when the time was right, you're like, "Okay, I think we're ready for this." So, yeah.
Exactly. The time is perfectly right. Well, what I'd like to do today is I'd love to dive into the musical journey that you've been through, Tash. And initially, I'd like to just go through the episode and rewatch it, point out some interesting things that people may have missed, or just some fun things to talk about. Explore your process with Miss Cleo, and talk more about Anti-Pop Star and how Alice did such a wonderful rendition of it and some of the decisions there. How's that sound?
Sounds awesome.
And just to say in the chat, Tash is such a beautiful
Oh,
Cleo. It's true.
thank you so much. Really appreciate it.
People are so wonderful. I've been really enjoying this show, episode by episode, and beyond Alice appearing. Oh, thank you. Thanks for giving the pixels a chance, Pete. Jessica, thank you. And Linda, thank you so much. Oh, the chat is booming tonight. I love it.
Oh, I
Okay.
love it. Yay,
Okay,
friends.
so yay, friends. I love it. Okay, so let's dive right into the episode.
Awesome.
Hopefully you guys have seen this one, episode 28. We're just going to roll through and chat about it. So let's give it a roll.
Yo, we are live in downtown District 1 at the Central Plaza where it is popping off. I am Flix Finale, musician, actor, author, liqueur enthusiast, and I'm bringing you the scoops. Come hang with me tonight as we celebrate an incredible, mesmerizing artist and rock some dope tunes in the process. This is Miss Cleo's Birthday Bonanza!
Celebrate.
So first comment, that is Todd Barrage. I'm still not sure how to say his name, but he is a YouTube phenomenon who does emo covers, popular 90s and 2000 songs. And oh my, what a voice.
Seriously. Amazing voice.
Yeah, a fun little tidbit straight about this right away is the way this character came into existence is I reached out to another artist. As an artist which I'm a huge fan of, from a band I probably shouldn't name because it didn't quite work out, but there's a band which I like him so much. I saw their first ever London show and their last ever London show. They're a Chicago band. And the vocalist, I thought he'd be really cool for this role. So I kind of modeled it on him, managed to get in touch with him. And oh my, yes. Some of my Patreons will know, I sent him a message about the show. I said, yeah, do you fancy being in the show? You know, it would be cool. And he goes, yeah, send me an email. I sent him an email. And he sent me this insanely long WhatsApp message, basically getting quite meta. It was like, man, the days of doubting yourself are over. You know, the universe has brought us together. You may have thought that, you know, I'm too far out of your range or I'm too expensive to get. And it was this big preamble. But I've just got 3 questions. 1, what is it? You hadn't read the email. 2, how can we make it dope as S word? And 3, and how can I utilize all my contacts to blah blah? And it was this very sort of Hollywood sort of email, and I was like, he hasn't read the thing. He hasn't read it.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Oh,
so
no.
so in the end, I thought, okay, well, I would like to work with this guy. I'm going to play it a little bit, you know, his language a little bit, and responded in kind, and give him a short little brief about it. And the conversation went on for a while. The last thing I heard from him was I showed him a clip of the show, and he said, Evans, I'm going to open a whole Rolodex for you, which I assume means he's going to open some contacts. I don't know. But long story short, it didn't quite work out. But in the process, that some of these things which I embellished from the character from this guy came into Flix. So it actually worked out in a positive way. And I was like, who else can I get to play this role? And I thought of Todd. And Todd was the opposite. It was just like, you know, hey, you fancy doing it? Yep. No drama, and he just did an amazing job. And I think he calls it his amped up Matt Pat from Game Theory, if anyone is familiar with that. And thank you, Todd Barrage. Let's continue.
Creating a unique, once-in-a-generation artist.
I do things my way. I make my own path.
Chart-topping albums.
I'm merely a conduit of the creative process, darling. I let the cosmos speak through me. And fortunately, the cosmos has a lot of hits.
Holding the record for most viewed live stream concert.
Darlings, if you know this song, let me hear your beautiful voices.
The ever-evocative Miss Cleo. Join her fans, friends and peers to celebrate a special creative force. This is Miss Cleo's Birthday Bonanza.
That was Korean producer J-Path doing the voiceover. And Tash, we got to hear your wonderful, wonderful voice. What was your approach to voicing Miss Cleo?
It's funny when you asked me that question. I was like, I feel like when it comes to any kind of script or music, I feel like when it's well written, it kind of speaks for itself. And so I felt like I just kind of channeled what I felt like the character um, was saying and who she is, and the voice just kind of came out naturally. Yeah, I felt like that's Miss Cleo needed that sort of understated voice in a way. I don't even know how to put it quite into words, but my approach was really to really dive into the script and read the words. And I also sing classical music, and that's something that I've been instructed by my teachers is that to really channel music, you just kind of let the music and the words speak for itself. So I think that is again a testament to your writing.
Oh,
Yeah, yeah, that, and also I really like to really dive into the universe. So just like doing my research and watching the other episodes leading up to this, and also like understanding the story and what your the message is. So that's kind of I think the approach that I took with it.
cool. I love how natural you approached it and how it just came out. It seems like it came out really effortlessly. Uh, yeah, I think you absolutely nailed this. There's this lovely line between kind of this very laid back cosmic vibe that the character has, and a sort of hint of pretentiousness, um, but just very beautiful as well. I think you did amazingly well. So thank you, Tash.
Thank you. I it helped as well to have your direction. I mentioned this in our stream before, is that I really appreciated that you had a very clear vision and a really clear direction, which is so helpful. Like you really understood, like I guess the performance that you wanted from me, and that is for me. It's always really helpful to have that. So yeah, I really appreciated that.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I recall we spoke about this on stream on the Alice stream, and I think that it was really fascinating because you sent some amazing takes, and I was just hearing like maybe we could get a bit more disdain for the Duke character, which we'll see coming up. And once I feel like you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like once you sort of gave the character permission to go to this sort of I can be a bit sassy about the Duke. It really just opened up the whole performance, and it brought this extra layer, which I think added that extra magic to the role.
I think that part was really fun for me because, when you're playing a character, it's not you, right? But
Mm.
you're playing with aspects of what a human can be or a human can feel, and when you gave me some directions like the disdain, and also you mentioned the pretentiousness, and I was like, okay, how would I be as an affected artist, right? Like somebody that has that element, and that was really fun to get to explore that, because I think that's one of the fun parts about acting is well, you get to play something that you're not in real life. So
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. The character is so far removed from the wonderful, understated Tash in real life. Right, let's look at some more pixels.
Man, they're still beefing. This is ridiculous. Swipe right on that. Okay, yeah, okay.
Flicks, we're back.
Thanks for joining our coverage here on D1 Media. We're sponsored tonight by my personal favorite brand of electronic goods. Uber Sound? Is that what that says? Yeah, they're great. Use them all the time. So we're on the red carpet outside the venue. Let's see if we can catch some rays from some of the shining stars and starlets in attendance. Here comes one now. Hey, it's Dixon.
Come on, it's Diamond Flicks, and I am so happy to be here celebrating Cleo's incredible career. She's a close personal friend of mine.
Wait, how did you get Diamond out of that? So, like, is the X an M or?
Yes, exactly. It's that, but spicier than the usual spelling, much like me.
Yeah, it's super edgy to spell things wrong.
What is your problem? Shouldn't you be welcoming guests instead of berating them?
Hey, whoa! No, I'm not berating anyone. Illiteracy is nothing to be ashamed about.
You're a glorified doorman, Felix, if you'll excuse me.
It's Flix with a Z or something.
Edit this out.
Whatever. We're live.
Oh, Mike, that is so good. Your writing is so good.
Oh, those performances. So that was actually a reference. That was a reference to. I'm sure you've come across this. Bands that have these bizarre spellings that don't quite make sense. Some influences for that were there's a band called Scarlord where the O is an X. A very famous band called Paris where the A is a V. You know, they're very stylish, but if you were to try to say it, it's like what? Purpose. There's quite a few bands. I was recently told by Kyle Starlight on the X-RL7 Discord that there's a band called Lilac, which has some very bizarre spelling as well, which I've since forgotten. But yeah, there's quite a few bands with some challenging spellings out there, aren't there?
Like Alice.
Well, I wasn't going to say anything, but
Hey, I'll call a spade a spade.
well, you know what? It's not as bad as Mixie One, my other band. Back in the day, I used to. I don't know what possessed me, but I used to call it Mike's One, and that sounds mental. I don't know why I used to call it that. Yeah, so that was voicing the I forgot her name. Voicing Diamond, the character Diamond, was Vex Electronica. She does a social commentary channel. She's quite witty and got a very lovely voice. And she's been in the show before. So this episode has a lot of cool recurring characters, including thanks Jimmy. I was going to say thanks Raz. Yep, we got Debbie Divine earlier on in the product placement cameo around there. Debbie Divine voiced by Aesthetic Perfection. I know that his videographer Clint Carney has done a lot of work with Alice as well, which we can talk about later. Okay, let's keep it rolling.
Oh, hey! It's Psy Statica! Still going hard at the snacks, huh, Psy?
Whatever are you implying, sir?
Oh, no, it's just like an open secret kind of thing that you're obsessed with that stuff. Like a lot. A lot.
What?
Not that I'm judging.
My dietary habits are none of your concern. I won't engage in coarse, unsubstantiated rumor. Good day.
Good evening, because it's evening. Roll the thing.
Just quickly, Psy Statica, voiced by Richard Kay of Machine Rocks, and that is a recurring gag that he quite likes his snacks.
You're the #1 selling artist on Duke Inc. How much do you owe to the label and the massive influence of the Duke?
Of course. The Duke is a renowned classic artist. His fingerprints are far and wide on the music scene. However, I'm grateful to be able to use this platform to introduce a more modern, contemporary offering.
Hey!
Oh, that's so good, Tash.
Thank you.
The interviewer was voiced by Trina Duhart, who's she does a lot of voiceover. She is a voice actress, actually, professionally, and she does some streaming on YouTube. She's very cool. And that's her brief cameo. But yeah, wonderful work, Tash. It's very lot of gravity to your performances.
Thank you so much.
Kind of reminds me of Lady Gaga a little bit. This next scene, we've got Love Exterio's Annie Ko voicing this character here, making a nice cheeky appearance.
Can I get a pic with you?
Sure, absolutely! That'll just be 50 creds payable to
50 credits? No way! Why would
security! Could you, a civilian, cross the line?
Why, Flix?
Yo, it's Cyanide 6 main man Jared Nova and his robot bodyguard.
Actually, this is Omega and Alfie Krakowski from the band X-RL7. They're joining me to celebrate this momentous occasion.
Aren't you that disgraced deadbeat manager guy? Legend.
Lies! Slanderous lies, I tell ya! There's been some misinformation about Alfie through the years, but we're looking forward to the event.
A little birdie tells me you're going to be performing a song in Cleo's honor.
Well, you shouldn't believe everything you hear. But in this case, that's right.
Yeah, I've got a little something special cooked up for tonight.
All right, stick that on your hot plate.
What?
Because the cooking metaphor, forget it. Jared Nova and his buddies, everyone! Yo, Stefano Mojo! What's up?
So that is Alan Rogers as Alfie. He is just phenomenal as the band manager. Very loud. He's got a few decibels. We recently put out a table read video, and you can hear the volume. I myself voice Omega, and it's interesting actually voicing for a vocoder because it's all one note. So all the wonderful pitch expression you might do in a normal talking way just becomes hello, hello, dup, dup. So you have to try and get a performance out of the dynamics of your voice rather than the pitch when voicing a robot. And that is, of course, familiar. Those familiar with the show will know that Michael Joseph of Rockstar Esoterica and Schism 206 voices Jared. And Michael Joseph is an interesting character because I met him because he does some interesting esoteric analysis of various interesting books like by Madame Blavatsky and all these sort of older books in that area, sort of alchemy books and things. And I met him just purely through talking about that and didn't realize that he was a musician. And we became fast friends, and I invited him to appear on the show and in some other stuff we did. And it turns out he's got a very cool singing voice. Discover later. Yes. Let us continue.
OMG! That's Jake Coulter and Ali Bomb!
Alfie, be cool. They're just like you and me. Give or take some narcissism.
Ali! I loved your Wired EP!
Come with me.
Ooh, that's forward. You know him.
Smith. He's with the Duke. He gets around.
I bet he does with that confidence.
Ah, Jared. So good of you to join us. And you've brought some non-guest list approved friends. How wonderful.
Presenting Alfie Krakowski, Jared Nova, and Omega from District 3.
I don't believe we've had the pleasure. I am the Duke, humbly at your service.
Everyone knows that.
Nice to meet you. Your music is influential.
And yours is bold. Yes, I've heard of your group, XRL7. XRL7, yes. You certainly are riling people up, causing unnecessary unrest, one might say. I get it, though. Some artists need an angle to sell music.
People should be riled up with the amount of manipulation, hypocrisy, and bitter control the population are subjected to.
How on brand. Yes, that's the Omega I've seen. You know, we had an artist on our roster who shared similar theories that you do.
Zeno.
He's mysteriously disappeared now, though. Ain't he?
Yes, sadly, he went quite mad. Such a waste. I'm sure he'll turn up somewhere.
Just as well we're not on your roster then.
Well, never say never. Your voice is growing. You're attracting a wide audience of disenchanted, troubled souls. I'm sure I could help you, monetize that particular market.
With all due respect, my work is about sharpening minds, questioning authority, thinking critically. Your artists seem to be about dulling the mind and accepting the control thrust upon them.
And big, big butts!
You don't have anything these guys want, man.
Oh, that's right. What could little I possibly offer? Just fame, riches, all the earthly pleasures. A cleaner helmet, perhaps.
That is very, Very tempting, your dukeship. Very. But you see...
We're not for sale.
You'll find everyone has their price. Isn't that right, Mr. Nova? Very kind of you to serenade our Miss Cleo this evening. Good to see you embracing your place.
What can I say? I'm just paying my respects to the carnival here.
And rightly so.
Sir, your mint mocha is ready.
Ah, if you'll excuse me, I have some mingling to do. Omega, I'll have my eye on your progress. We'll meet again.
You think he'll let me get a selfie?
That was actually quite a big deal in the series, as Raz says. Clash of the Titans. That's the first time that the main protagonists of the show, Omega and Alfie, meet the main antagonists, the Duke and Smith. So it's very exciting to write that scene. You can see a table read of that very scene elsewhere on the channel. But that was quite an electric scene, really, to write. And a bit of behind the scenes about just putting it together was because X-RL7 is quite conversational. It's very dialogue heavy. And on that particular scene, I was getting a bit paranoid afterwards that it was originally there was just one camera angle, just looking side on. I was getting a bit paranoid that it needed something more interesting visually to keep it more engaging. So there's a couple of things going on. You've got a few of the background characters walking back and forth, but I tried some bit of a new experiment where we had these close-ups of the characters and we had to zoom in on certain points. I think that really helped with making the scene more visually interesting. I think you let me get a selfie. Yeah. Kudos to the voice actors there. Mikey Altered, who plays the Duke, he is just incredible. There's so much weight to his delivery. He really absolutely nails the character. And Smith by Lee Towson, also in our band Mixie One, he is phenomenal as well. He's just so good at Smith. And yeah, I'm very blessed with the amazing vocal talent in the show. Speaking of, about to hear some more.
Presenting to the stage, the woman of the hour, the one, the only, Miss Cleo! Give it up!
Thank you all. It's wonderful to see so many of you here to celebrate my musical journey. I see familiar faces, shiny up-and-comers, and the old guard. I like to think, in my own way, I've shaken things up in this industry, shown that you don't have to play by the rules. And it all started with this little ditty. So tonight, join me in a special musical rite. I invite you to let go of antiquated expectations, to let go of useless inhibitions. We are duality. We can embrace the dark. I am Miss Cleo. I am your anti-pop star.
No example, no precedent, but I'm one to break the mold. Got some tricks to show. Off the leash, I'm in control. Off the script, I won't play my role. I've long since killed off all of my idols. Weakness with you. I'll initiate you to my world, my dog. Hope London is deep, love gold to joins my heart. See it all, where it falls. I won't be what I'm not. An anti-pop star.
That was, yeah, just sensational. A really amazing performance. Ash, Alice did such an amazing job on the track. I'd love to hear what. Well, we've discussed this a little bit on previously, but let's pretend we haven't. What was it like from the Alice camp when you received the ragtag demo idea that I sent over, and the thought process behind blowing it up into this wonderful production that we have now?
Oh, I love this question so much because it's been such a beautiful journey and process, and truly inspiring for us. I feel like at the foundation, like when we sat down and really listened to the song and the lyrics, we were like, I feel like this needs to have real heavy elements to it. Like it felt like it called for something very heavy. Um, and I feel like Steve, our drummer, was somebody that really laid the heartbeat of what that song needed to be. I love your animation for the drums and all the instruments, really. You put so much love into it. And, Steve is a true artist and musician. Like he really, really like listens to the music and breathes a lot of life into it. So, the first part of it was, Steve came at it with the drums. He also had some arrangement ideas, which I thought were really brilliant. Scott, our guitar player and synth player, also produced the song. And so he would take like input from each one of us. And it's sort of like making a cake. I think that's the best analogy, where everyone is like, okay, I'm gonna throw in some flour and here's some sugar, and everybody kind of throws in their elements, and then he's the baker that puts it all together. And then it turns into a cake, hopefully. But yeah, I feel like one of the arrangement ideas was also bringing in like the vocal heaviness. Like you in the demo had an example of like what you had in mind, and Steve gave us an example of what he had in mind as well. And Yeah, I feel like it's kind of like everybody then contributed, from there. Hazel did the background vocals as well. Like she did the harmony work, which was beautiful. And then our amazing Gordon Bash, who did the bass. And yeah, I love being in a band where everybody brings their own elements into a song. And part of it, I think, was a joy. Collaboratively, is that normally we write internally, and so having the input from somebody outside, like with the demo that you sent over, was like, okay, like what do we do with something that doesn't originally come from us? And that was really fun for us to like dive into that. So yeah.
It's awesome. I love that analogy of making the cake and adding the layers and the ice flour and things like that. It's really come out from my perspective. Like what you guys sent back, it absolutely blew me away, because I knew it would be good, but I didn't know it'd be that good. It sounds incredible. Animating, thank you for your kind words about the animation there, Tash. Animating everyone's individual parts was a really interesting experience, because I strive to make everything as close to reality as possible. All the fretting, the fret numbers, things like that, the drums. It was an interesting undertaking. It's something which I've never done before, a live drum kit, never done bass. So it was fascinating to relearn the parts, like on guitar and bass, and you really get to see like, oh wow, there's some really cool feels here. There's some really cool dynamics and interesting things going on with every single band member. So everyone in Alice is extremely talented, and Hazel's got some range, hasn't she?
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah, she does. We originally met doing opera together. I did my very first opera with her, and it was one of those things that when I brought her into Alice, into our universe, it was such a joy, because like we had normally sung classical together. And
Mm.
so yeah, I think it's for us, it's been really fun to get to explore like different mediums and different styles of music, you know, when we came from a different background. So yeah.
Some very eclectic. And just to shout out the chat, it's clear. Compliments to Tash, Jessica.
Oh. Thank y'all so much. Very, very grateful.
Yeah, it's really like it's lovely because it feels that our creative work has been appreciated, which is always very nice. But yeah, you guys absolutely slayed it, and it's one of my favorite collaborations in the series. It's just so awesome the way it's come out, and I hope everyone watching enjoyed it, and is going to stream it and download it and check it out, and you know, all that good stuff. Continue the pixels.
Ladies and gents, we're reaching the end of our proceedings, and I just want to say, it's been emotional. Here to close out the night, let's hear it for our favorite punk rock maestro, Jared Nova! Yeah! There he is! Those shades never come off!
Hey, everyone. My sentiments to the lovely Miss Cleo. And to all you well-groomed luminaries. What a night, huh? A televised birthday party. Well, if there's a way to cash in on something, right? You all shine so brightly on our screens, on our stereos, on our social media feeds, yet we're in our bubbles, detached from the majority of the population, divorced from everyday reality and concerns, yet we'll happily tell others how to behave, what to think, and condemn them as inhuman if they don't agree. Reinforced by echo chambers and perpetuating narrow, superficial takes on complex matters. Well, I've been wondering lately.
Made a mistake there. Sorry, guys. We've got to get the episode back on the screen. One sec, guys. Bear with me, guys. I'm being... Sorry about that, everyone. Let's go back and see Jared chatting.
Jared Nova! Yeah! There he is! Those shades never come off!
Hey, everyone. My sentiments to the lovely Miss Cleo. And to all you well-groomed luminaries. What a night, huh? A televised birthday party. Well, if there's a way to cash in on something, right? You all shine so brightly on our screens, on our stereos, on our social media feeds, yet we're in our bubbles, detached from the majority of the population, divorced from everyday reality and concerns, yet we'll happily tell others how to behave, what to think, and condemn them as inhuman if they don't agree. Reinforced by echo chambers and perpetuating narrow, superficial takes on complex matters. Well, I've been wondering lately, what do we stand for? What do I stand for? I want to introduce a new friend of mine, Omega from the band X-RL7. He's gonna help me out tonight. Here's a song we wrote together which I think is appropriate. It's called Plastic People.
Where's the substance we consume with plastic people? With nothing to say, praise the Lord when you created something real. Antipop star, not perfect or pristine. An antipop star, not as holy as can be.
Episode 28.
Yes.
Apologies, guys, for the slight technical there. That's my brain not being able to multitask. Thanks so much, guys. And just to shout out the chat. Hello, Dresser Chair. Hey, Dassom. If I did indeed say that correctly. Those shades never come off. You can join the X-RL7 Discord server and the Alice Discord server. Wonderful places, wonderful communities. So please do join both of us. Yeah, episode 28. That song "Plastic People" at the end was actually released in, I think, late 2022, I believe. There's an EP called Cyanide Songs, and there are 3 songs with Michael Joseph singing on. And that particular track, ironically, the opening track, was intended. We released it back then, but it wasn't in the universe of X-RL7 released until just now. So it's funny the way these things work out. But yes, that was indeed episode 28. Thank you very much, Tash, for such a wonderful vocal performance. And with that, such an amazing job you guys did in Alice. I would love to now dive deeper into the wonderful musical world of yourself, if you don't mind. So I'm very curious how you initially started your musical journey and what your primary instrument was when you were growing up, how you moved on to vocals.
So my parents heard me singing in church in tune when I was 9 months old. I grew up in a church that didn't have instruments, so everything was a cappella, and so probably a lot easier to hear a little baby. And they decided to get me music lessons, which was pretty amazing. They didn't have a lot of money. My mom worked multiple jobs to help support the family, and but still made it possible for me to get piano lessons. And I started at the age of 2. Yeah, so I was just doing piano, and I was also singing in choir growing up. And my first paid musical thing was actually accompanying people in junior high. So for those who are not familiar, like kind of like around 7th grade, like around the age of 13. And I was writing songs from a really early age as well, like silly songs like, here's my song about picking cherries. Here's my song about walking along the sidewalk. I mean, great hits.
Such innocent subject matter there as well.
Yes, yes. Maybe one day I will release these songs into the world or unleash.
Please do.
Yes. So yeah, I guess my background was classical. And I was so used to music being, written for me, but yet I loved writing for people. I loved playing for people, and I helped friends get into music school. And at the time, like at the auditions, people would ask me, "Well, when are you gonna audition?" And I was like, "Oh, no, it's not for me." Like it never occurred to me that music could be my pathway, and an actual, career choice. Even though it was something that I'd been doing my entire life. I think I'd been really pushed to do things more in the academic world. I think, with a lot of the narrative that was around me, it was kind of like about like what is responsible, what is respectful, what can make you money that is very stable. I completely failed at college. I did really well at school up until I reached a point where I was like, well, I'm supposed to decide what I'm supposed to do for the rest of my life. I think I changed my degree like maybe 10 times at least. At one point, I was a geology major for a week.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
An interesting week.
Yeah, I was like, I had a friend who was a geology major, and I was like, well, that sounds really fun. Like, I'm all about the rocks for a week. But it was a discovery where I was like, I felt like as much as I was trying on other hats and what other people told me that I should be doing, I realized I had this like kind of epiphany where I was like, I feel like the one place of true joy I find in my life is through music. I feel like when I play, I saw it help other people. I had this beautiful moment. I played piano. I was playing Pachelbel's Canon for a group of my parents' friends, and this woman starts crying. And she shares with me like that's the song that she was listening to when she gave birth to her child. And I just realized that like music is part of so many people's like amazing points in their life. that are so important and vital, and music can be so healing. And as I've been on a journey of discovering what can heal me, it's been really beautiful to see, like, oh wow, this is how you can bring people together. This is how you can connect people. And so I made a choice where I was like, I don't think I need a degree to write and create music. I have friends that have, and it's amazing. They've really gone far into the academic world of music. But for myself, I chose to start Mankind is Obsolete. And that was the first rock band for me. And I also play keyboards and guitar and sing for other projects as well. System Sin, Clint Carney is actually a band that I play keyboards for and sing backgrounds. Yeah, but yeah, it's in a roundabout way. I feel like music has been like, it's been this interesting tangential journey. What started with classical went into like, gosh, I don't even know how to describe Mankind, but maybe industrial punk,
That's
into
pretty
the
good.
world of Alice and Alice Underground, where I got to explore jazz. And
Yeah.
I feel like, each section or chapter that I've been able to explore, I think ultimately I find that music is so universal, and it doesn't really matter the genre. It's an expression and a language that transcends all barriers, you know?
Absolutely, and it must be a wonderful feeling as well to know that, um, speaking of music healing people, your music itself in Mankind is Obsolete or Alice has healed a lot of people, I feel. It helped a lot of people, myself included, 'cause, I discovered Mankind is Obsolete via the song She, and, it was an interesting place in my life, and it was, let's just say it was a very healing song for me at that moment. So it's cool the way it's, got I think the cycle has gone back, and I think you're giving back what you received.
That's so beautiful. I did not realize She was the song, for you. I actually wrote that for a friend to help her. And she was going through a very challenging chapter. And so I love that healing energy, like, carried forward and helped you. And that always just means so much when I know that it's connected with a person in some way.
So, I believe I saw it in an old interview. The formation of Mankind is Obsolete is because you and John saw each other's band shirts? That you're wearing some band merch?
We were both wearing a Sisters of Mercy shirt, and
Ooh.
yeah, we were going to Musicians Institute, which is it's not a degree program. It's just John got his degree. I was just there for like a short amount of time, but most of the people at MI were like more into. I mean, these were all people that were studying to become professional musicians, and a lot of the people were like more into like blues and jazz and fusion. It was a lot of international students as well. And so it wasn't very often that you ran into somebody that was into like darker music.
Mm.
And he and I saw each other in the hall. He was in the drum program, I was in the keyboard program, and we were like, "Hey, you like Sisters of Mercy?" And thus the friendship began. So yeah.
That's awesome. So, I would like to, in a moment, play something from that early, Metamorph EP. If,
No.
if you can handle such a thing. I was curious, in that era of the band, that first EP, what can you tell us anything about what was going on, the influences or the vibe? And especially with, well, personally, I'm interested in the vocal style that you adopted on that initial EP, and also where were the synths coming from? Was yourself and John involved in the sound design at that point?
Yeah, both of us actually contributed to that. So this was my first foray into, writing rock music or heavier music, and
Mm.
still brought a lot of my classical influence. Like the song Angel Disease was our first song, like my first rock song ever. And I was actually inspired by Moonlight Sonata by Beethoven. and taking a lot of walks. And so that the repeated synth line that you're hearing is actually inspired from the Moonlight Sonata. And
Wow.
so, yeah, like, and vocally, I was just learning how to do it for the first time. It was a very interesting, painful process. I was learning how to do heavy vocals for the first time, and hurting myself in the process, and looking for teachers to teach me. So I studied with so many teachers, and I finally found this absolutely fantastic. Oh, hey, MKIO.
How are you doing
I found
this?
this. That's not magic. It's magic, Mike.
I see.
Yes. I found
Magic.
this incredible blues teacher. She could scream, and she was, probably well into her 60s or 70s, and still had this immaculate voice. And I was like, how is she doing that? I need to study from her, because I want to be able to sing like that, for the rest of my life, and have a healthy voice. And so, yeah, I was in the very beginning just kind of figuring out like how to sing, how to record. We were recording ourselves. Steven Siebold from Hate Department mixed the album for us, but me and John were the ones that were actually like producing it and recording it, and yeah, just kind of figuring it out. It's funny because we did the early vocal tracking in John's apartment, and his neighbors could hear, and they made so much fun of me while I was doing it.
Oh no.
It's okay. I'm used to being bullied. I've been bullied my whole life. So I was like, well, I'm just going to keep doing this in my own lane.
I know. So
So, yeah.
was it literally just the two of you then in the band at that point during the recording?
So initially, yeah. So it's funny because I didn't want to sing. I'm so shy. I still am. I'm very introverted. I just wanted to hide behind my keyboard. And we couldn't find a singer. And we kind of put out an advertisement where we're looking for a singer. Originally, I envisioned actually a male vocalist. I really like the mid and low range, and I wanted somebody that could actually sing and scream. And we tried out a lot of people, and it just never really worked out. And finally, John's like, "Well, I'm not singing," and I was like, "I guess I will give a hand. I will do my best." So,
Short straw.
yeah. But then we met other people along the way within MKIO's journey. We met Gordon, who's our bass player, and is the bass player for Alice as well. And we also met Mark Nuri. He was our first guitar player. We opened for Collide, and Scott, who is now in Alice and our producer as well, played with Collide, which is how we met. So yeah, that's kind of how it all came together.
Great, that. Well, without further ado, let's make you cringe a little bit, Tash, and let's watch Rapture.
Step back just a moment to tell you all my sins. Step back just a moment to let it all in. And tell me, Father, will I see the truth in all my ways? If what was not was always there, was willing me betrayed.
You okay, Tash?
Oh my gosh, I have not seen that in a while.
That's so awesome.
It's
That
really,
outfit,
really.
though.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, it was really cool. We found an artist who was wanting to learn how to make music videos. That was shot on the roof of our keyboard player's apartment, and yeah, that was really fun to make. It was funny because I was just remembering as we were learning how to record, the guys had a hard time with figuring out how to record my distorted vocals. We tried so many things. Like we had to play around with different mics, different techniques, different processors, because it was just distorted vocals are so different live versus recorded. So yeah, Scott now has a handle on like how to record the heavier vocals, but yeah, when we first started, I remember Gordon was our early producer. He was literally having me sing into a djembe with a mic on the other side to try to figure out how to filter it.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, just we tried so many different things. But yeah, it was our very first recording.
Very
The
first
Metamorph
recording.
EP. Yeah.
It's awesome. It's fascinating how your distorted vocals have evolved so much, and there's parts of your vibe in Rapture on this EP that I hear a little bit in Anti-Pop Star, hints of.
I feel like you kind of in a way, I don't know if you did this intentionally, but you kind of fed that to me, Mike. I'm not sure if that was your call to bring that in, but
Maybe subconsciously a little bit, a little bit. It's one thing was on the original demo. So there is, as you say, a cheeky little aggressive vocal at the end, and that was, I was trying my luck there. I was like, yeah, well, I don't know if they'll use it, but a little hint of it was to imply that my intention of the end section was meant to be a little bit heavier or a little bit more energy. And you guys just took it and just made the whole song like huge and it's beautiful aggression that you added to it. So yeah, I guess maybe there was a little bit of telepathy you picked up on there.
oh, I loved it so much because it's a voice that I don't often visit in the world of Alice. I do a little bit of it here and there, but it's really fun for me and very cathartic. It's such a cathartic voice to get to bring out. So yeah, when I first heard the demo, I was like, oh, I get to play with that voice again.
And it was amazing. It was a great surprise. And some love in the chat, Chad.
Oh, Chad. Oh, thanks,
Cigar.
Jazz.
What's this? As fancy on Mike's first song from Mix. You can look that up. This is the Tash. This is all about Tash. Although we have had a wonderful collaboration called Creations, which we can discuss a little bit later because that was a wonderful experience to work with you on that. Yeah, so Metamorph. Coming off of that, you, I assume, did some shows before you got into the next phase of the band?
Well, the reason we decided to not just create the music, but we also put it into an album very early on. John, our drummer, came from the DIY Midwest metal and punk scene. And it was all about touring, all about live shows, all about being on the road. And so MKIO, we spent a good deal of our early, career touring relentlessly. We even spent like a full year on the road at one point, a year straight. And so Metamorph was created as part of we need to be able to put gas in our tank. And so having an album, having t-shirts, all of those things that help to put gas in the tank was part of it. And with an album, it's a landmark. It's a placeholder where you're like, this is where I'm at in my life. So Metamorph represented that particular chapter.
Straight on the amazing. So can you tell us about the change in sound, the next steps of the band that led us to Rise album?
Oh yeah. So I went to Ozfest with John. John really introduced me to a lot of music. I grew up listening mostly to classical, and so there was just so much music. And still to this day, there's a lot of music that I'm still getting exposed to, and people are sharing like, "Oh, you need to check out this." So he was like, "We need to go to Ozfest. You need to like get an experience of what metal is like." And I had this kind of awakening because at the Ozfest in Southern California, I actually I ran into like some pretty bad racism. There were
Oh, really?
people that were, yeah, yeah. I was surprised because I grew up in Texas, and you'd think that sort of thing happens more in Texas. But John went to the bathroom, and I got harassed by some people for not being, white. And I realized it was interesting, tangent, but I realized that sometimes, like, the music, the community, the culture, can foster sometimes hatred. Obviously, you have no control as an artist over like what community you bring to you, but that really was an awakening for me where I was like, what kind of energy am I putting out in the world? Because I feel like I have a responsibility. It's one thing to make a music or a song in your bedroom, but it's another thing entirely when you put it out in the world. That's when I was like, I feel responsible because I feel like my intention, at least, of what I want to gather to me, and what I want to bring into the world is like something that's healing, even if it's
Mm.
heavy. Like, I think it's entirely possible to like have, incredibly powerful, heavy music, but it also can be something where it brings people together in a really positive way. And so Rise to me, where I was like, okay, I feel like, yes, it can be cathartic. Yes, it can be expressive, and it can be heavy, but I also want it to be with the intention of being healing. And so the concept of Rise was, how do we rise above whatever negative stuff is going on in our lives, however people are bullying you, like how can we rise to that occasion, right? And become a better person and hopefully bring more light into the world.
Amazing. I love that. That kind of reminds me of I've heard Devin Townsend, who was in the band Strapping Young Lad and various other things. He was saying when he was in that band, he was making music that was very angry and very sort of aggressive and had that particular energy. And to no surprise, in the end, he was attracting fans which had that sort of energy as well. So he changed tact and made something a little bit more, I guess, a bit more healing, as you say. And it's interesting the people you attract when you, it's like attracts like, I suppose, the energy of what you put out there, which again is a cool reflection of fan base of Alice, I feel.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I feel so grateful. I feel like I am surrounded by kindness. The people that I've been so blessed truly to be surrounded by, not just my bandmates, but the community around. It's been just incredibly supportive and loving. And people share with me, like what things, like how the music has helped them, or how it's affected them, and I just love that we've been a part of that.
Well, I'd like to play a bit more Mankind is Obsolete from that very album, I believe. I believe Still Right Here is from Rise, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
Okay. I'm gonna rock that. I love this song. So cool. And we get to hear a different shade of aggressive vocals from the next evolution. Whatever what in Pokemon, when you get the next evolution of Pokemon, it's like that. The next the next Tash.
Lately, I've been thinking, throw it all away. It's a voice I held on to, spilling all my pieces, feeling this control, needing all the things I slipped away. So tired of living like this again. It cycles round and round again. All my escapes that left me broken leads me here again. For all the words I've spoken and the ones who let me there, 'cause I still feel something burning me, rising, or wanting to say yeah. So with my broken meanings, I find there's still life left somewhere. So take your miracle placebos and know that I am still right here.
Woo! That was awesome. That was so cool. What can you
Tosh
tell us
rocking
about
out into
that?
details.
That's
So
a good
first of
shot,
all,
isn't it?
I love the action shot there. Actually, it was really cool. I got to work with a collection of. Oh, thank you, Jimmy. Thank you, Alexi. Very, very, very appreciated. I got to work with these incredible artists. One of the things I mentioned that I grew up in Texas, and one of the reasons I moved to Southern California is I wanted to find other creatives to collaborate with. There are amazing artists in Texas, but I found that there was quite a collection in LA. And I found this incredible clothing designer who designed our outfits, and this director, another director who was looking to learn how to make music videos. And so, like, we all just, I love collaborating. If this, like, this is kind of the theme here in this whole chat. I think it's I've always loved the spirit of collaboration, because I just feel like while we all have our ways of contributing, it's amazing to see it come together into a cake. So yeah, and still right here, like, we were starting to really figure out like how to record more of the distorted vocals, and we wanted to bring in like even more electronic elements, and at this point we had done a lot of touring and live shows, and so we figured out like, how do you get an audience moving? And I feel like it was like we wanted to have like, music that was high energy. And so I felt like Rise was something that was very inspired by like, bands that got us like really going. So that was kind of the intention, at least. And again, exploring more expression and in the songwriting. That's when I actually brought in some piano as well. One of the songs on this particular album is called Prayer. And I wrote that as a piano ballad. A lot of my songs come from writing on the piano. And it was so cool because Gordon, as a treat to me, he found this studio that recorded on actual tape. So not digitally, but on analog tape. And it was a studio that had a real piano, which again is such a treat, instead of a keyboard. And it was owned by Sean Lennon, which was John Lennon's son. And so to me, just being able to work in this historic studio and play the real piano and everything was incredible. And it was one of those pinch me moments where I was like, oh wow, I'm getting to like work and play with such incredible people and artists. So yeah, like the whole album from start to finish, Gordon produced this one, was again exploration and learning and growing. I every album has been like that for us, where we're like, how can we push the boundaries? How can we, push the boundaries as songwriters and producers and performers? So, and because at the foundation for both MKIO and Alice, we are all about live music. So I feel like we're always thinking like, oh, how can we really capture like this in a live situation? So, yeah.
That's really cool. Keeping it like, yeah, keep capturing the live situation, keeping that pure, authentic performance aspect of what you do. That's a fantastic song, Ash. I've played that many, many a times. And just to catch up with the chat, we've got Toxic Man Flu in the chat. How you doing, Toxic? Some compliments, some love being sent to yourself, Tash.
Oh, thank you.
Interesting comment there from.
I'm just gonna say real quick, dresser chair, you can eat my hair.
Great stuff. Raz has got a question. Tash, which other X-RL7 characters are your favorites aside from Miss Cleo, of course? Interesting. No comment is also acceptable.
No. I mean, it's interesting because I helped create one of the songs for the Duke, I know it's a villain. I've always
Yep.
had like a soft spot in my heart for villains.
Hmm.
I think they're very fun and interesting characters. I like to think about in any universe, like whether it's Star Wars, Star Trek, total sci-fi nerd here, by the way. Like
Yeah.
it's always interesting, like origin stories and like how a villain is a villain, because I don't think they probably think that they're a villain, most likely. Although I have a random, like this is random tangent, but like, why is it that all villains cackle? Like, why do they all have this weird cackle? Have you noticed that? Like,
That's very true, isn't it? I guess they love their ideas, their grand machinations so much that it tickles them the right way.
there's a specific cackle too, like a very specific evil cackle. But anyway, I digress. I think I think I'm gonna go with the Duke just because I love the villain. I love like
Yeah.
thinking like, where is it that they're coming from with this? You know? And maybe
I-
part of me is like, and how can we change them?
Yeah, I've heard that actually. Like, a good villain is a villain who doesn't view themselves as the villain, but they believe they're doing something or some form of good. Or in their head, they're doing the right thing, and everyone else is being masses doing the wrong thing. But they're, yeah, I feel what you're saying. I feel what you're saying. Um, we could go through your discography for such a long time because I love exploring your Tash. But one thing I did want to talk to you about, because we have to get onto Alice soon, but I wanted to discuss. You did an album with legendary producer Sylvia Massey. How did that come about?
So, Scott, I was mentioning, plays in Collide, and the keyboard player and main producer and songwriter, Static. He's played with Tool. He's also produced for Prince and Michael Jackson, and he had worked with Sylvia Massey when they were producing Prince. And they had mentioned Sylvia as this just incredible producer and person to work with. She had this amazing compound, I guess, in Weed, California, which was up north. And beautiful. It was like close to Mount Shasta in the mountains. And it was this teeny tiny town with like one grocery store, a couple of restaurants, everything walking distance. And we lived in the studio for a month and produced the album with her. That was the next level experience. We did it in the summer. There was blackberries growing everywhere. On one hand, I was like working on this like heavier album. On the other hand, I was in my complete hippie mode where I was like, I am going to walk barefoot and pick blackberries and make pie. Um, but it was really phenomenal. She has a very specific way of like recording drums, for instance. So it was very educational to learn like, oh, this is how, if you want to get a certain sound, like to really understand your room and the mics. I've also worked with Steve Albini, who's no longer with us, but he had a similar approach where everything was recorded analog, and you had to do everything basically in a few takes, because otherwise he'd have to cut the tape instead of digitally editing it. And so anyway, but it was interesting because it was like, okay, he knows his room, he knows the mics, and Sylvia was the same way. Interesting little side note is that so I like to record my vocals in my closet. It's like a teeny tiny closet with Christmas lights and and candles and tea. There's nothing fancy about it at all. And at the time, the demo vocals is what we ended up doing. Sylvia asked Scott, like, how did you get those vocal takes out of her? He's like, well, I don't know. Just lit some candles and made her some tea, and we couldn't get the same takes. And it was funny because they had all these fancy mics, like mics that Maynard had sung out of. And, because Sylvia had produced Tool and System of a Down and all of that. And I mean, she had amazing stories. And so I got to sing in these amazing, beautiful, fancy equipment. But ultimately, we ended up using just an SM58 as a mic. For those of you that aren't familiar, it's this little standard handheld mic that is not very expensive in the music world. And, that it's like, I was like, I guess I'm just sort of a meat and potatoes kind of gal, when it comes to mics and recording. I don't need anything fancy. So yeah, I mean, it was a beautiful experience overall, and just seeing like the process of like the recording and the mixing and all of that was something that we really took to heart and learned from.
That's awesome. I guess as well, it's a testament to yourself as a vocalist that you don't need all that fancy gear. Just stick you in a closet with some candles.
Candles and tea, y'all. That's all I need.
That's the one. And
Yeah.
Alex, thanks for the info.
Rock solid closet screaming. It's like screaming into your pillow, y'all. Anybody can do it.
Yeah. When you're mad at your parents when you're a teenager.
Well, for me at least, it's always come from a real visceral place. Like when I'm emoting in that way, like it's like I draw this ball of energy and ball of emotion into my very being, and then I let it all out. That's kind of the best way I can describe it.
Sounds very Dragon Ball Z somehow.
Yeah. Yes. I love that analogy. With both hands.
That is awesome. That is awesome. Here it comes. Shout out in the chat because we have Roggers, who voices Alfie, the band manager.
Oh, yes.
And loved the episode. Thanks, Al. You did amazing in it. And some love to yourself, Tash.
Oh, thank you so much.
And thank you, Chad, for the good vibes. Thanks, Max, as well. Well, Tash, I'd like to. I realized that this is. We haven't even got to Alice yet because I'm so interested in exploring discography, and I'm aware that you are short on time because you have more musical engagements. So maybe we'll see how far we can get. Maybe we can look at doing something else in the future, more Alice focused. But I would like to, on the Sylvia Massey subject, show a bit of the song "Awake," which is one of my favorite songs off that album. And I think we've got a bit of Gordon vocals in this, haven't we? Doing a bit of shouty.
Yeah.
Is this all there is? There's nothing to see. A world that asks so much but leaves me worse than empty. Is hope still alive in this endless parade? There must be something pure to fill the lonely void of this charade.
Yay! Oh, that was awesome. And if I recall, Scott did a great remix of it as well.
He did the Mind Cube remix. That's what he
Mind
goes
Cube
by.
remix.
Yeah, he goes by Mind Cube, in his remixer entity. Yes.
Excellent,
The
thank you.
artwork, by the way, is by Vincent Marcone. Again, amazing collaboration. We commissioned him to do this piece, and we had talked about like the inspiration behind Trapped Inside. So he created this particular piece of art for our album cover and our website at the time. So we thought I just wanted to shout out to Vincent because he's an incredible artist.
Yeah, the power of collaboration. That is awesome. Is there did you give him much direction for the artwork?
We were talking about the themes and the inspiration behind Trapped Inside, and then he just kind of went with it. So, and he came back with this, which we were just like, this is brilliant. It's absolutely brilliant. So, yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, another fantastic album, and I think is it around this period that Scott joined the band?
He joined the band right before Trapped Inside. Yes. He was with us when we produced that album, and also when we started our year-long tour. So the album was produced, and then that launched our tour that lasted for a year.
Mm, excellent. So the Alice members slowly entering the fold,
Infiltrated, yes.
infiltrated till today, and it's fascinating hearing some of these heavier influences coming out again in Alice, like an interesting heavy cycle. Yeah, so that was. I'd love to. The thing is, I'd love to explore these albums, individual songs, so much more. But if we could, looks like we might just about get onto Alice before the end of this stream. But Mobius Loop. Now, was that? There was. Am I wrong in that was a little bit of a delay between albums there, or am I just making that up?
Yeah, there was a delay. Well, I wouldn't call it a delay so much as like we were touring again relentlessly, and it's very difficult to tour and produce an album at the same time. Alice is currently going through that, like where, it's like trying to juggle the live show with producing the album. It's very challenging. So, we
Mm,
toured a lot on Trapped Inside. And then at the end of it, we had a lot of inspiration, which included inspiration for Alice songs. Like that year-long tour, I was starting to play around with this odd meter piano idea that turned into a waiting for
mm,
Alice. So yeah,
that's
but yeah,
awesome. And
the pause was from the touring.
yeah, it came out really well. Though sometimes things happen, and it just helps the music brew more. So and some lovely wordplay here from there's such poetry. Your voice, it's like a perfume sledgehammer.
Ah, I love that. Thank you.
Can
I
put
will
that in the
take
next write
that
up.
as kind words. Thank you so much.
Yeah, I mean, Mankind's Obsolete, such an amazing band, and that's how I first discovered you guys. And just, I think the last song I would like to play of Mankind is one where the video was done by the amazing Clint Carney, which is Lucifer's song. So if I can put, is there much to? Can you give us much insight into this track, by the way, Tash?
Um, yeah, so it's interesting. I grew up in a very Christian home. And so some of my family thought it was like my homage to Satan, which it wasn't at all. It was actually like I was actually really thinking about the story of Lucifer, and the idea of abandonment and forgiveness. And the
Mm,
story of like, what if there was some kind of redemption? Again, the villain, or the person portrayed as a villain. And what if there was a redemption arc where eventually it was Lucifer that forgave God? And this was like
mm.
Lucifer's in a dying world. It was a whole story. I come up with storylines sometimes when I'm writing. And so, I was just thinking about like, what if we were in a dying world and the dying words is a prayer of forgiveness to God. So that was kind of the inspiration behind Lucifer's song, which I, shared with Clint, and then Clint made this brilliant video around it.
Well, let's watch that video, all right?
White field of snow, drifting flakes, low below. I'm in
Yeah. Amazing. Just hold on, I zoned out and wrestling. Damn it, Rockets. We're not talking about wrestling, though.
I mean, we can, though I wouldn't really know what I was talking about.
Yeah, Mankind is a wrestler from the 90s, I believe. He's wears a mask. Has a gnostic that makes perfect sense to me. Awesome. Very haunting vocals in this song. Lovely.
Thank you.
Yeah, Tash, you are extraordinarily talented, and I am acutely aware that we are running out of time at the moment because you have some musical responsibilities and your ever busy schedule. So I think I'd just like to close things out by thanking you for joining me today and discussing the Pixels and your wonderful music career. Sorry we didn't get to Alice. We'll have to sort something out.
We'll just have to chat again. We'll just have to chat again is all.
We'll just have to chat again. And because it's wonderful, actually, as someone who's been listening to your work for time, to get these deeper insights about specific tracks and just be like, okay, what's going on here? So just to close out, thank you again for your amazing work as Cleo and the amazing work Alice did with the song. Do you have any closing thoughts, and where can we find you?
I just also want to reciprocate the gratitude, Mike. It's always such a joy to get to interweave and to create and to chat. And thank you to the beautiful community that's been here with us. Thank you so much for being so loving and supportive and lovely and funny. Thank you so much for making me laugh today. Mike mentioned a musical obligation. I'm celebrating the 75th birthday of my mentor, who's a choral conductor, and we're going to be singing a choral concert for him. So my call time is very soon. But he's brilliant. His name is Donald Brenniger. So I just wanted to give a shout out to him. But I just wanted to say that I feel like it's been a real gift to be able to be on this artistic journey and to share the friendship that we have, Mike. And I really appreciate the thoughtful questions and truly, I mean, I feel like you really, really care about every single person that you create with, work with. We're all so lucky to have you in our community. So thank you.
Thank you so much. We're also lucky to have each other. You are
yes.
You are one of those, one of the few musicians where, I mean, there are quite a few, but you're like, I know you're a very genuine person. I know you're very genuine, and all the people, Alice, are amazing. And I shan't keep you anymore, so you're late for your performance. Thank you so much, Tash. And everyone, thanks so much for joining us. Please do check out the Discord, check out everything, and see you later.
Thank you so much, everyone.